The moment I walked into my shop and saw Karen's luxury SUV parked dead center, locked inside with my tools tossed everywhere, my project blocked, and nothing but a sticky note on the windshield that said I needed shade, thanks. I genuinely wondered if I was having a heat stroke or maybe I'd finally snapped. No apology, no number, not even a name, just that smug little scribble like my $300,000 restoration job was her personal sun shelter. I didn't scream. I didn't call the cops. I just grabbed my welder and sealed every single door shut with a line of molten steel so thick not even regret could get in. Then I booked myself a vacation, left the cameras rolling, and hopped the first flight out of state. Back up a second. 2 weeks before this circus life was good, I was ahead on orders, clients happy, and just installed a hydraulic lift that made restoring classic muscle cars feel less like work and more like meditation. My shop was my peace, my pride, my whole reason for tolerating the HOA, which had more rules and drama than a Bravo reunion. I figured as long as I didn't paint the house neon or leave a wrench in the yard, I'd fly under the radar. That fantasy shattered the day Karen moved into the corner lot down the hill, white Escalade opera music blaring windows down, hollering at the movers for stacking her yoga mats wrong. Within 48 hours, she'd introduced herself by sliding a laminated pamphlet under every door, Karen's Guide to a Better Neighborhood. I thought it was a prank. It wasn't. She called herself the liaison of parking and aesthetic. A week later, I caught her measuring my driveway with a tape measure. When I asked, she said, "Just checking if you're still within the community's visual harmony guidelines." You know what I mean? That was my first warning sign. At first, it was just passive-aggressive. She sent the board a complaint about my oversized mailbox, then about the color of my garage door, then started claiming my clients blocked up the street. The other board members mostly rolled their eyes and called her annoying but harmless. But harmless went hostile real fast. One morning, coffee in hand, I found tire marks across my gravel path, her Escalade halfway to my ramp, like she'd done donuts at 3 a.m. She waved from her lawn and shouted, "Sorry, temporary parking?" I let it slide. Wrote a short, polite note. "Please don't park on my property. Area is under video monitoring." Next morning, her car was gone, but now fresh tire tracks ran right to my lift. I checked the cameras she'd driven up at midnight, looked straight into the lens, and flipped it off before leaving. No subtlety, pure entitlement. That's when I called the HOA board directly. Sent them. The video explained the safety risks, flammable stuff, sharp tools, heavy equipment, you name it. Mr. Lewis, the president, offered a line about not wanting to escalate neighbor tensions and needing a formal complaint trail. Translation: you're on your own. So I called Officer Grant, the local PD. He'd been out for a bogus noise complaint Karen filed a month back. He watched the footage, shrugged, said it was trespassing, but couldn't arrest her unless there was damage or a restraining order violation. Civil matter. File a report. Document everything. Next thing I know, Karen storming up the street in her designer sandals, sobbing to the officer that I locked her car in, that she thought my shop was a community facility, and I threatened to burn it down. I'm standing there, coveralls and coffee, blinking like a fool. The cop left Karen smirked and strutted away like she'd won a gold medal in lying. Days went by and it escalated. She started parking right in front of the shop every other day, sometimes half inside while I was working. When I asked her what the hell she was doing, she just grinned and said checking for safety hazards, then drove off, leaving nothing but the scent of cheap perfume and entitlement. So I got creative. Motion alarms, extra cameras, reinforced brackets. Nothing worked. Not when the HOA wouldn't help, and the cops called it a civil nuisance. Karen found a loophole and was running laps around it until the day she went too far. It was a Friday and I'd stepped out for a sandwich. Came back to find the shop locked quiet and that SUV parked between my workbench and the lift like it lived there. No Karen, no note, no nothing. I called voicemail. Texted, got a reply hours later. Oops. Was in a rush. Don't touch my vehicle. That's when I'd had enough. Didn't yell, didn't call anyone. I fired up the welder and sealed every door shut, made sure the cameras caught every spark. Then I grabbed a bag, sent Karen a message, "Don't worry, your car's safe. Building's locked up tighter than Fort Knox," and left town. By the time my plane landed, I had 6 missed calls, 3 voicemails, and a flood of texts. The first message, "Can you unlock the doors?" 20 minutes later. "This isn't funny. Then she went full meltdown. "This is illegal imprisonment." I muted my phone and let my neighbor Frank keep me updated. According to Frank, who by the way lives for this kind of drama, Karen spent hours pacing in front of my shop calling the cops. But this time the police checked my cameras, saw she'd entered without permission, and told her, "Ma'am, it's a civil dispute. Maybe call a locksmith." She tried that too, but the locksmith took one look at the welds and noped out liability, he said. She lost it. Called the fire department, called animal control about chemical smells, all nonsense. The HOA caught wind on day 2. Mr. Lewis called, voice trembling with neutrality, asking if I'd resolve this peacefully. I posted a note to the community board. "My workshop is locked and monitored. Unauthorized vehicles will be documented." That post got more likes than my birthday. On day 3, Karen brought in a news crew. No joke. Channel 8 did a segment, "Local Woman's Car Held Hostage by Neighbor." The best part. They interviewed Frank, who calmly explained she'd parked inside my private property and I'd just secured my building. Online, the tide turned. Comments flamed Karen. But then a twist. An anonymous email to the board with scanned documents showing Karen's SUV registration was expired and her license suspended for a hit and run in another county. Suddenly, the self-appointed rule enforcer was exposed as a fraud. The board verified everything her mask was slipping. Meanwhile, I was hiking the Rockies, grilling steaks, watching old action movies, living my best life. Every night I'd check the cameras just to see what flavor of meltdown Karen was serving up. Once she brought 2 Craigslist-looking dudes with bolt cutters. They saw the welds and bailed, muttering about lawsuits. Day 6. Karen posted a forum rant, accusing me of theft, vandalism, psychological sabotage, you name it. The neighborhood clapped back hard. One neighbor wrote, "The shop you weren't invited into." Another, "Maybe sit this one out." The board locked the thread in an hour. Karen's next move was code enforcement. Claimed my welding fumes were dangerous. My building was an illegal business. Joke was on her. All my permits were spotless. The inspector who showed up was the same guy who'd approved my expansion years ago. He left laughing. Her SUV became a local legend, untouched, locked away, a monument to her entitlement. She stopped walking. The neighborhood stopped barking orders. Some said they saw her crying in her backyard. Part of me felt a twinge of pity. Then I remembered the months of headaches. When I got home, the place felt lighter. I let Karen stew another day, then called the police to supervise the unsealing. That morning, coffee in hand, I walked out to a crowd of neighbors, Frank included, watching from their lawns. Officer Grant rolled up just as Karen stormed across the street, waving documents and shrieking about illegal confinement. Grant just said, "Ma'am, you parked inside." He didn't move it. "This is a civil matter." With everyone watching, I fired up the grinder, sliced through the welds, and swung the doors open. Karen lunged for her car, but Grant stopped her. "Registration's expired, license is suspended. You're not driving it out." Karen's face turned every color in the stress spectrum. She had to tow it out. Her humiliation was complete. That night, the HOA board called a meeting. The room was packed, everyone with their own Karen story neighbors. She'd harassed kids, whose lemonade stands she'd shut down, folks whose roses she trimmed because they didn't fit. I played the video, Karen backing into my shop, flipping the camera off. Silence. The board stripped her liaison title, fined her, issued a formal violation. She stormed out, knocking over the brochure table. A few days later, her SUV was gone, hauled out under her supervision, caught on camera still shouting orders. You'd think that'd be the end, but no. She tried a civil claim for emotional distress and property damage. The judge dismissed it in 10 minutes. I hung the check for legal fees next to my city permit, my own little wall of triumph. After that, everything changed. Neighbors waved. More families strolled by. People started asking for quotes. "If you can weld a Karen shut, you can fix my GTO." I hired a kid from down the block as an apprentice. The HOA ran smoother, rules made sense, and the vault, that's what they called my shop now, became a symbol of neighborhood resilience. As for Karen, she faded into the background curtains, drawn power walks, replaced by pacing inside. She tried a few last-ditch complaints, noise, zoning, fumes, all dismissed. Eventually, a moving truck pulled up, no farewell, no cupcakes, no crowd. Just silence. The dirt patch where her army of lawn gnomes once stood was the only reminder she'd ever been there. That weekend, we had a cookout. Neighbors, police, even Mr. Lewis showed up, brisket and beer in hand. You ever think about joining the board, he joked. Hard pass, I laughed, unless you want the clubhouse welded shut the first time someone complains about a garden gnome. A few weeks later, my apprentice Liam brought me a poster the neighborhood kids made cartoon shop The Vault, where Karen got welded, scrawled on top. I taped it up next to my trophies. That's when it hit me. It was never just about the SUV or even the workshop. It was about drawing a line, about community finally standing up to someone who'd spent years tearing it down. The real win wasn't revenge, it was seeing people breathe easy for the first time in years. The HOA found its rhythm, families felt safe, and my shop became a gathering place instead of a battleground. And if Karen ever tries to come back, well, let's just say I keep the welder ready just in case. So what do you think was welding that door shut, justice, or just escalation? Where's the line between protecting your peace and starting a neighborhood war? Let me know in the comments, because I guarantee this isn't the last time someone tries to turn a quiet community into their own personal fiefdom.